You're walking down the street, or you're driving, or you're on a bus, or riding your bike, or scooting. You see a playground, a school, a field of children playing sports, kids at camp. What you don't see, what's impossible and invisible to the naked eye, is that 1 in 10 of these children who you are seeing has been or is being sexually assaulted by an adult they trust. An adult who said nice things to them, promised to be their best friend, and then slowly and methodically, using a special set of very sickening skills, wore down the defenses of that child, then repeatedly sexually assaulted them or is assaulting them right now, today, at this very moment. Leading national research says that a sexual predator will have 50 female and 150 male victims before being caught. Physical, in-person assaults and sextortion make up the majority of these crimes. Think about that. Being physically around that child and harming them, and being able to harm a child from one end of a computer or phone. It's really disgusting, isn't it? And how do I know so much about crimes against children? Well, it's been my life's work. For more than 25 years, I've been fighting crime. For more than 15 years, I worked for the long-running Fox TV program, America's Most Wanted, helping to put hundreds of criminals behind bars, including some from the FBI's infamous 10 Most Wanted list. I also helped to bring home more than 30 missing children. I then worked at a leading nonprofit whose sole mission was stopping child sexual exploitation and supporting efforts by law enforcement and others to bring missing children home. And very, very proudly, I'm also the father of 2 young children. And so I'm not just here today for all of you, I'm here because I have to, I need to help make this world a safer place, to protect my own children while I'm helping to protect yours. Most of you probably understand what a physical assault is. But what's sextortion? Well, it's when a child is forced to perform sexual acts or expose their private parts to someone who's gotten power over them by tricking them into thinking they're another kid their own age or by grooming them based on the child's vulnerabilities. The predator then threatens to ruin their life by sending these images to the child's friends, family, unless they do more inappropriate things that the predator demands. And the demands just get worse and worse and worse. And where are these predators exactly? Well, they may be around the corner, across town, across the country, or anywhere in the world. These days, we just don't know. That's why I'm here to share with all of you what everyone needs to know, that every single child is only as safe as the trusted adult around them. And when that trust is violated, whether in the real world or online, the results are absolutely devastating and often lifelong. Those children on the soccer field, at camp, on the playground, and online are all vulnerable to the sexual predators who methodically plan, hunt, and then harm their child victims, our children. So too are the children who are just walking around outside, going to and from school, or hanging out at a friend's house, or going on a trip. I know, this is really tough stuff to hear, but all of us have a role in keeping children safer, and I'm going to tell you exactly how to do it. So just how many sexual predators are there out there? Well, it's nearly impossible to know the real numbers, but it's estimated that there are more than 750,000 convicted sex offenders just roaming the streets of the United States and Canada. Yes, 750,000 at least. Why so many? Because they've served their sentences and have been released. No one gets a life sentence for being a violent sexual predator, and I bet you didn't know that. And while they're supposed to be reporting to a parole officer and regularly checking in, I'm here to tell you that at least 100,000 of them are missing. Poof, gone, totally disappeared and off the grid. And no one knows where they are. And even worse, there's nearly no one in law enforcement looking for them. They can't. They just don't have the resources. That means that at any time, a convicted sexual predator could be walking around that park, that playground, that aquarium, that soccer field, that community ice rink, hunting for that next child victim. Sickening, I know. So just how badly do these predators want legitimate access to children? Well, let me tell you about a pilot project an organization that I was part of conducted. In a 5-year study, every single person who wanted to volunteer at a prominent national children's organization that operates very well-known after-school programs had to submit their fingerprints to be checked against the FBI's National Sex Offender Database. Would you be surprised to know that 53% of them actually had criminal records in a different state from where they had applied to volunteer? And get this, 10% of the 53% were convicted sexual predators on the National Sex Offender Registry. So what does this tell you? Well, it definitely means that these people will do almost anything to seek out legitimate access to our children. There are kids' coaches, our kids' teachers, and other school staff, music instructors, tutors, mentors, any position, paid or volunteer, that gives them access to kids. And while some children may be more vulnerable than others due to a family situation like a divorce, a death in the family or of a pet, financial problems, mental health issues, there's another group of children who are also extremely vulnerable. Kids who excel at sports, academics, or music may also be victimized because of the grooming that is done to both them and their parents. When the predator convinces parents that their child will be much more successful, like with a college scholarship, or making it to a professional sports team, or to the Olympics, they just need to spend more and more time training, studying, and being coached. Remember, these people are total pros when it comes to getting access to children. So that's why it's so important that you're hearing this right now. So who are these predators? Well, they come from all walks of life. Let me give you an example. At America's Most Wanted, I participated in a sting operation that we conducted with the police department. On this particular sting, we worked with the reigning Miss America that year. Her name is Lauren Nelson, and her platform was to educate children about the sexual predators who are out in the world looking for them. Well, in chat rooms and on other social media, Lauren pretended to be a 13-year-old girl, and she had the real pictures of when she was that age that she sent out. And she showed these pictures to the people who wanted to meet up with her, and she told them that she was alone in her house and her parents were away. So get this. In a 12-hour period, more than 15 men showed up to have sex with her. 15 men. One was an expensive car dealership manager. Another was an armed guard at a U.S. nuclear facility. Another was a dad of 3 daughters. And although each of them, in handcuffs, completely denied to law enforcement what they had shown up for, a search of their car told a much different story. Alcohol, condoms, handcuffs, roofies, duct tape, performance-enhancing drugs. I'm here to tell all of you, make no mistake about it, these people are out there hunting for our children. Most often, harming the child, sexually assaulting them, just isn't enough. And these predators record the abuse with still and video images, then share them with other like-minded sexual predators around the world. And sadly for our children and for our families, these images then exist forever. The New York Times recently reported that in a single year, more than 45 million sexual assault images, also referred to in court cases as child pornography, were transmitted over social media like Facebook, Instagram, Google, and many other internet service providers. And while internet and social media service platforms do report these images when they know about them, law enforcement is completely overwhelmed and completely under-resourced to stop this crime and to rescue the children being harmed. But you know what? It's not a helpless situation, and there are actions you can take right now to protect the children in your life. And this is how I protect my own children. And here are 3 things that you can do too. Number 1, children need to completely understand that their body is their body and that there are no secrets that can be kept with any other adult. Number 2, keep those lines of communication open with your children. Be honest with them and regularly tell them that they can always talk to and trust you. No matter what they tell you happened, if they are honest, they will not get into trouble. Tell them that even if they did something they think is so bad, you're here to listen to them and to help them. And by the way, giving them examples of situations where you had to talk about something difficult and were nervous about it, that once you did it, you felt so much better and got the support you needed. It could be something that happened to you in the past or more recently. Children love to hear how adults they trust navigated through the tough stuff. And number 3, know what they're doing online, who their real world and actual friends are, and who they're interacting with. Have repeated, serious conversations with them about online safety. I'll say it again. It's not one and done. Have repeated, serious conversations with them about being safe. Tell them that even though it's hard to believe, there are bad and untrustworthy adults who pretend to be children online, and that they should never arrange to meet anyone they do not know or send them pictures. Tell them to trust their gut, and that if they're nervous about doing something or connecting with someone, just don't do it. And again, give them those examples of how you did or didn't do something and how you trusted your gut and what happened. Focus on these 3 things, and your children in your life will be safer, absolutely and without question. As I shared earlier, I'm a parent of 2 young children who are growing up and interacting with people they don't know, and they're growing up with devices and screens. So I think about protecting them every single day. Because in my professional life, I travel across the US and Canada, working with schools to educate teachers, administrators, and other staff on how to maintain safe boundaries and create a culture of safety. The work I do is all about keeping children safer. And while I personally know almost too much about the dangers out there, I use my knowledge to give my children a healthy understanding of what safety should look and feel like. That includes regularly talking with them about who they interact with and dividing people into 3 categories, like people who we really know, people who we kind of know, and people who we don't know at all. Every single one of us has a role in protecting children today. If you embrace the concepts you heard today, you will be making our world a much safer place for children. Thank you.